this weekend, UFC 311, we got three guys fighting all under the coach Khabib Nurmagomedov. We got Tagir Ulanbekov, Islam Makhachev, and Umar Nurmagomedov all fighting this weekend at UFC 311. Khabib is going to be a busy coach this weekend. He will be in everybody's corner. I'm not 100% sure about Tagir Ulanbekov, but I believe he will be coming out in his corner Saturday night. So we're going to get straight into it. I got some things to say. All these guys are obviously part of Khabib's camp. They all come from Dagestan. They all train with Khabib in his camp in Dagestan. And these guys are high level. I just want to talk about why I believe that none of them have any chance of losing. The odds already show it. They're all 1.3x's. They are huge favorites against each of their opponents. Tagir is fighting Clayton Carpenter. Umar Nurmagomedov is fighting the champ Merab Dvalishvili. And we got Islam Makhachev defending his belt against Arman Tsarukyan. These are all tough matchups for them. But the odds show, and their amount of training and dedication shows why they are such huge favorites and why I believe that all of them will win this weekend. We already know Khabib Nurmagomedov, undefeated, 29-0, retired undefeated with the belt. His dad coached him. Abdul Manap coached him to become champ. Once he passed away, Khabib did have to give up the belt. He couldn't fight anymore without his dad. I understand people are very disappointed by this because Khabib could have been one of the best fighters of all time, one of the best undefeated fighters of all time, but he had to stop because, his father passed away, which is an understandable reason. But still, he continues to coach. He continues to have a drive and an enjoyment for the sport and an enjoyment for the UFC. And now he has all of his brothers and his cousins and his friends, all of his friends fighting with him. He's training them. He's teaching them his ways. He's teaching them the way of the Dagestani fighters and the way to be dominant as he was. He was one of, if not the most dominant fighter in the UFC. He only lost 2 rounds in his entire career. 29 fights, he's only lost two rounds. Undefeated, undeniable, and these next guys who are fighting under Khabib's name are going to be undeniable as well this weekend. The Dagestani fighters, they fight for legacy. And this is something, that we saw in the Khabib presser against Max Holloway. Khabib was talking about legacy. I initially thought it was a joke. I was like, you guys are both getting paid the same. It's not about legacy. It's not about pride. It's not about whatever it is. But it is about legacy because Khabib has a legacy to follow. He is the reason that Umar is so driven, the reason that Islam is so driven. Now Tagir Ulanbekov. All these guys are super driven in their weight class because they want to be Khabib. They look up to Khabib as almost the god of all of them. And they're very religious, very dialed on what they have to do, what they want to do. And this is one of the reasons why they're so focused on their task and they are training all the time. People don't understand that the difference between them and, guys in the US, Americans, Brazilians, all these guys, all these different guys from different regions of the world, it doesn't come down to where they're born and what they do. It's about how much drive and how much pressure they put on themselves to be the best. And the Russians, the Dagestanis, put the most. And under Khabib Nurmagomedov, of course, there's going to be pressure. There's going to be an expectancy to be great, to be undefeated, to try and keep your record beautiful and be the best in the world. They don't care about money. When Khabib was talking about, I fight for legacy, I don't fight for money, I thought it was a joke because, of course, he's getting the same paycheck. He's getting paid just like Max Holloway was going to get paid. That fight, they both obviously are going to get paid. But I understand now why Khabib says he fights for legacy. He fights for his father. He fights for his figures that he looks up to. And now you've got guys like Islam, Umar, and Tagir who all look up to Khabib, and they're all fighting for Khabib. They believe in Allah. They believe in God, and they fight for Khabib. They fight for everybody at their camp. And all those guys, they train their asses off nonstop every single day. They're pushing each other. That is the reason they're just undeniable, all of them. This weekend is going to show that. That 3-leg parlay is looking real nice between all of them. Obviously, the odds are ridiculous, but if I was to lay a parlay down, I would be parlaying Tagir, Umar, and Islam as a lock of a parlay, man. A lock of a parlay. But, the reason that I do think that they're going to win all their fights is because they know how to dig deep. We've seen this in multiple fights. Tagir, Umar, and Islam, they all know how to dig deep. When it gets tough, we've seen with Islam, when he fought Dustin Poirier, it got tough. He was struggling to get takedowns on Poirier. He was struggling to get him to the ground and deal the damage that he wanted to. So he had to step it up on the feet. He had to deal more damage on the feet to then be able to get him to the ground and do what he wanted. The difference between these Dagestani guys and everybody else in the UFC is that they dictate where the fight goes nonstop. They choose, do you want to fight on the feet or do you want to fight on the ground? And they get to choose because their wrestling is so high up. Their wrestling is levels above everybody else. It's just how they've trained. They've grown up in the mountains. They've grown up in Dagestan, which is a rigorous, tough environment to grow up in. They've been training all together for years and years and years. Khabib trained with Islam and Tagir and Umar all when they were younger. He was the oldest one. And obviously he's the first one that he was the first one to make it to the UFC. He was the figure that they all looked up to, the one that they all wanted to become. Umar strives to be better than Khabib. Umar wants to have a better record, be a better fighter than Khabib. That is why he's trying so hard. And that is why all these guys, they fight for legacy. They fight for legacy because they got guys to look up to. They got Khabib to look up to. They got Abdul Manap, Khabib's father, to look up to. When Islam got the belt from Charles Oliveira, he gave it immediately to Khabib and said, without Khabib and his father, I would be nothing.
I just want to say, you see, this my belt for my coach, Abdul Manap Nurmagomedov. Many years ago, he told me, just training hard and you're gonna be champion. And I want to give this belt. This is him and his father make me, I know.
It's just a matter of dedication and commitment to the game, which all these guys from Dagestan have. And this is why I believe that all of them are going to win this weekend. You know, and we've seen this time and time again with the Dagestani fighters. They genuinely have an aura behind them. You know, when you see guys that are like, oh, okay, I'm going to fight one of these guys that ends with the letter V at the end of their name, it's like, you know, they have a level of dedication and a level of drive to the game that it gives kind of a bit of a scare to their opponents, and it leaves a bit of doubt in their opponents' faces because of guys like Khabib, who have just completely laid out the path for everybody below. All the guys that I've mentioned, all the guys that are fighting this weekend, and this is why I believe that they will all win this weekend. Guaranteed. It's lock on my life. On my life. If they lose, I will be cooked, but on everything. I just mean on everything. They are a lock. All of them are a lock. There's just so many of them. And you know, they keep coming into the UFC, and people hate on their style sometimes because they're such dominant wrestlers, but they are the best fighters. At the end of the day, they are the best fighters. They come and they win in any way they need to win. You know, and they get the job done. Solid. I believe that Tagir, Umar, and Islam will all win via decision this weekend. I do believe that they will just have a dominant decision over everybody. These guys are dominant. They are. They have a wrestling-based, sambo-based background, which is and has been shown to be one of the most dominant strategies and mixed martial arts in the UFC. By far in the UFC, wrestling is top. I've talked about this time and time again. Wrestling is top. These guys are the top of the notch wrestlers. You know, they train in the most rigorous areas. Like I've said, they have struggled their entire lives, and they have worked so hard. They are so dedicated that it's just undeniable, man. I ranted on too long in this video, but I'm trying to make you guys understand, because this is something that we've seen time and time again with these Dagestani fighters, and this weekend it will be the exact same outcome. All these guys have trained together. You know, they are training together consistently now, non-stop, training up for UFC 311. And with Khabib's help, his knowledge, his game, you know, he knows the UFC, knows the MMA from the back of his hand, man. He knows everything. So, all that being said, lock in that 3-leg parlay. No, I'm just fucking with you guys, but lock in that 3-leg parlay for sure. Like Tagir, Umar, Islam, that's a parlay right there, man. That's a parlay, you know. And when they're at their gym, they are training. They are 60 to 80 people pushing each other nonstop. So that, in my eyes, I do believe that they will dominate this weekend, and they will be undeniable. But that's the whole video, boys. If you did enjoy, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop your comment down below if you guys believe that they will win, which I believe they will, of course. I've been glazing this whole video. I'm gonna cut it off, but hit that subscribe button, And I'll catch you boys in the next one. See you.